Hole number 1 on the Nullarbor. The golf clubs I have is a rusty 5-iron, 56 degree wedge I bought, rusty 7-iron, rusty putter. Here we go. Hole number 2, or the 18th here at Seduna. Hole number 3, 50 k's down the road. Lovely. Unfortunately, 2 putted on that, ended up with a par. Should have birded it really. Golf in the outback, not too shabby. Another 80k down the road, hole number 4. George is going to meet me up the other end. Here we go. Hole number 5 for me in the outback. I've just walked from over there. Very long hole, I'll be happy to get this in 7, 8 with the clubs I've got. Lovely little par 3. Another day, another hole. Next hole, little par 3, just over there. There's the next one. Little par 3. Over there from the tree. Eagle's nest. Seen a few eagles driving over. The all the way over there. There is a ladies' tea which I'm tempted for. Here we go. The next stretch of road is the longest straight road in Australia, maybe the world. I think the hole is past them trees in the distance. Last hole of the day. seems straightforward until you see that. New day, new hole. Looks fairly straightforward. Here at Norseman Golf Club, next hole, par 4, short-ish one. I think the hole's that way somewhere. This is going to be the last hole for me. We are heading south after this hole. The next 3 holes are about 2.5 hours north of where we're going. So it's going to be the last hole for me for now. Never know, I might come back and complete. It's been a week since I played on the Nullarbor Links golf course. I only managed to play 15 holes. There's my scorecard all stamped. Apart from the last 3 holes. The last 3 holes were 2.5 hours north of where we were going to. So across the Nullarbor is pretty much one straight long road for like 1,000 miles, and we stopped at
The last holes I played were at Norseman Golf Club. So I don't know if you can quite see it on this map. So here was Norseman, and the last 3 holes, about 2.5 hours worth of driving, but we were heading 2.5 hours down here in Esperance, which was where we stayed for a couple of days. So to go from here, Baladonia, I think where we stayed, to Esperance was a 4-hour drive. So to get the holes in and come back down, we would have been travelling for 8 hours, which is a very long time, especially when you've already booked accommodation and stuff for the last sort of few days. So hopefully I can finish the golf course. We're in Perth for 3 months now, so from here to Kalgoorlie, which I think is where the last 3 holes are. I think it's about a 7-hour drive, so we could do a couple of days over there that way, depending on where we are, what we're doing. The things I learned about the golf course for myself, so this is going to be like a personal reflection. It's hard. It's a bloody hard golf course. It's the longest golf course in the world. It spans over 1,000 kilometers. So I did 15 holes in about 4 days. I did 2 on the first day at Ceduna, which is where we started, and then I think I only did maybe 4 the next day, 6 the day after that, and then 3 the day after that. So doing them holes over that period of time is very surreal, and you can't get into any sort of rhythm. I think I played 15 holes, and I was about 10 over par, which is not bad, to be fair. I had 1 birdie, which I was really lucky with. With the clubs I had, it was very difficult. Obviously, been travelling, I haven't had my own set of clubs. I managed to buy a 56-degree wedge in Melbourne, just for me to take to like the driving range and stuff. If I had a day off work or didn't have anything to do, I could sort of get some wedge practice in. So I had that with me, and when I was at Ceduna, I went to the visitor centre to buy the scorecard. The woman there was kind enough to loan me 3 clubs. I had a rusty old 5-iron, a rusty old 7-iron, and a rusty old putter. And I had to take them back to Kalgoorlie. Obviously I wasn't travelling that far, so I had to drop them off at Norseman. So I was quite lucky to borrow 3 more clubs. The hardest holes were the par 5s. Obviously having a 5-iron, I couldn't really hit that far. So that took quite a lot of shots, the par 5s, especially one which was over half a kilometre long, 538 metres. So that was very long. I think I scored 8 on that. As you've seen from the rest of the video. Would I do it again? Maybe, with a full set of clubs. But then I bumped into a bloke on one of the holes, and he asked me how my game was going. I said, "Oh, well, it's okay. It's hard because you're having to play so many first shots. So between each hole, you're travelling for at least an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, maybe 2 to each hole. So once you get to that hole, you're only playing 1 hole. I effectively played 12 to 13 first tee shots, which was just mentally strange to prepare for. But yeah, I bumped into a bloke on one of the holes, and he said, "Oh, how's your game going?" I said, "Yeah, it's okay. Not playing too well, blah blah blah. It's obviously playing so many first shots." And he went, it's not how you play at all on this course, it's the experience of it." And I think that's the whole message, I think, that sort of really hit home, is that in the last week we travelled 1,800 miles, which is an insane amount of travel. And some of the holes were incredible. My favourite one in particular was a hole called Eagle's Nest, which was a par 4. It was outside, I can't remember the roadhouse, and it was just very outback. It's what I imagine the outback to be. It was just desert, just pure desert, some shrubbery about, but you could see and you could hear eagles sort of flying overhead. So picturesque. That was probably my favourite hole to play. The quality of the course was interesting as well, especially the holes that were at proper golf clubs in Australia. So Ceduna, where I started, the Norseman Golf Club as well. I think there was one more. But if you was to turn up to them sorts of golf clubs in the UK, you wouldn't want to pay more than 15 quid probably to play the course, because it just looked not rough's the wrong word, but the fairways were just really sort of hit and miss. Most of the greens, apart from the first 2 holes that I played at Ceduna, which you've seen, were all artificial greens. The first 2 holes were like black sand, so you had to rake the sand and flatten it out before you used to putt. They weren't the most prettiest and well kept holes, or especially the golf clubs that I was at, but the experience of playing them was very interesting. Like, because it's the outback, because you're playing over national parks, on the fairways you have to make your own tees. So I used bottle caps. I've cut off the head of a Pepsi bottle, so you have to tee the ball up on the fairways, which is difficult in itself because the elevation of the ball is different, so you can't always hit down on the ball. Sometimes you're sort of sweeping it. So that was very different and quite challenging as well. So you think you'd have the perfect lie all the time, but it can put you off. I did hit a few fat shots, a few thin shots, sliced a few as well. But again, I go back to what that bloke said. The experience of playing on something like that is incredible. Yeah, I would like to finish the course. I think you get a certificate at the end of it, which would be cool to sort of have framed. But for now, I'm quite happy that I managed to play most of the longest golf course in the world. The golf courses I've played in every state so far, apart from Australian Capital Territory. Golf out here is quite big. There's a golf course in sort of every other suburb, which is quite nice. And the green fees are very cheap as well, even for sort of private golf clubs, country clubs. As visitors, you're only looking to sort of pay 60-70 bucks, which is probably 30-40 pounds to play on the golf courses. And some of the golf courses look really sort of lush as well. I've been quite lucky to play quite a few. My own golf game as well, I've been able to sort of analyse and take apart, and I've found a new meaning to golf, I think, which sounds really sort of cliche, but every golf course I've been to, I've played with a completely different set of clubs, which has made it hard in some ways, but in other ways it's really sort of thrilling, I guess. It's challenging. It brings a new challenge to the game, which it probably doesn't need any more challenges in itself, but it's definitely been an experience. I'm hoping to play a couple of courses here in Perth while I'm here, before I come back home. But yeah, I really need to work out my conversion rates from meters to yards. It's been very hard to, especially out on the Nullarbor, to convert meters to yards. With only 4 clubs as well, it's knowing how far your half swing goes and your full swing goes, gripping down the club, and what effect that has. But it's definitely been an experience, and one that I'd look to finish in the near future. But I'm very much looking forward to going home and playing golf with other people rather than just myself, and getting back to English courses, and going back to yards. That would be quite nice. But yeah, definitely been an experience.